Be some kind of cosmic comedy that puts Father's Day right in the middle of Pride Month in the United States of homophobia. Bad ideas about what it means to be a father still incite far too many fathers to behave in ways that are harmful, hateful to their own children. Just unnecessary. Fatherhood in the United States needs some clearing up. Mother's Day happens in May, and not during Pride Month, in June. And that's okay, because most mamas, in my experience, are already doing a pretty good job of helping queer children to flourish in their fabulosity. That's why I wore this shirt today, because it's fabulous. And it's Pride Month. Mamas in general are concerned that each child develop in congruence with that child's true nature. That is, mamas usually don't force their baby boys to grow up to be cowboys, unless that boy wants to be a cowboy. Fathers, on the other hand, are the ones who usually fight against mamas who sometimes may want to let their fairy grow up to be a fairy and not a cowboy. And I know that cowboy is not synonymous with homophobic toxic masculinity. Thank you, Brokeback Mountain. But the songs, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, seem to fit here because mamas often suffer with their queer children underneath abusive patriarchy. The same man who has rigid and outdated ideas about what it means to be a man and what it means to be a husband also has outdated and rigid ideas about what it means to be a father. But many fathers are starting to let go of toxic masculinity. And some fathers have taken courageous steps outside the patriarchy and all those perverted ideas about what it means to be a man. And yes, I said perverted, because the patriarchy is built on twisted misunderstandings of what it means to be a human being. Patriarchal perversions are anti-body, inhumane, and they cause fathers to act in ways that are contrary to our best scientific understandings of how a child should develop. And it also causes them to fight against the ancient wisdom of women, who are usually more in tune with what is best for babies and children, not because they're mothers and not fathers, but because capitalism has pulled fathers out of the home so that mamas would stay home and work for free. And that has created this division. So now in our society, fathers have little idea of what is good and best for children. But some fathers are fathering very well. And this change in fathering is good for children whose sexual orientation and gender identity and expression falls outside of what may be called normal and natural. Fathers who celebrate Pride in June become better fathers because Pride is a celebration of sexual liberation and gender nonconformity, but also Pride is a protest against the patriarchy and all of its poisons and perversions. I do believe there is a magic pill that can be taken by fathers, and it will help them heal from their patriarchal understandings of who they are. It can help them heal from the hatred of homophobia, and help them heal from transphobia, and help them heal from misogyny. These are all symptoms of the patriarchy. The magic pill is the willingness to question themselves. I think the most important letter in all those letters of the queer alphabet, LGBTQIA, the most important letter is Q. Not for queer, but for questioning. Because that is essential to liberation. The essence of a democracy is the freedom to ask questions. It's essential that everyone has the freedom to question their own sexual orientation, their assigned gender role at birth. Children of all ages must have the freedom to ask questions about their gender identity and expression, as well as their romantic dreams and aspirations. Patriarchy demands that children and women are to be made submissive to fathers. And this just does not work. Because children and mothers find a way to get around the illusion of authority, don't they? And it can create some unhealthy ways of fighting against the patriarchy in a system where everyone is expected to be submissive to the father. Liberation for fathers and everyone else in the family comes from more and more questioning, not from more and more submission. Q is the most important letter of the LGBTQIA alphabet, because questioning oppression is the first step to liberation. My liberation personally started when I began to question the assumption that God and nature made me straight and heterosexual. But more importantly, my path toward freedom started when I began to doubt that the devil made me do it. That was liberation. Instead, I began to ask myself the previously unspeakable question: could my gayness come from God? Couldn't even ask that question before. But as I started questioning, it led to more and more freedom. Liberation starts as more and more light reveals the emptiness of false claims that gender and gender roles of a community are set in place by God for all eternity. The activity of questioning produces the sparks that start fires that eventually can burn away the false idols that lead people to do so much harm in our society. Questions about assigned position in the patriarchal society produce tremors, and these tremors put cracks in the foundations of that same patriarchal structure. The more questions, the more cracks. Then, as more and more people get more and more real, then this congregation of the questioning just might become a mass movement to cause this edifice of the patriarchal temple to crumble and tumble to the ground. The defenders of patriarchy in American government are not trying to protect children. They're trying to protect themselves. Because the power that they hold comes from the lies about what it means to be a father, what it means to be a husband, and what they say it means to be a man. Preachers and politicians who pontificate against gender and sexual liberation are most afraid that more and more people will become Q, not queer, but questioning. And when more and more people start to question the authority of white, Christian, male dominance, we might just have a revolution. I'm glad that Father's Day falls in June, this year and next year and for every year until the patriarch completely falls. Fathers, let your babies grow up to be fairies or cowboys or whatever they want to be. Amen.